Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Ronaldo Lestrom, second year master student at Tokyo University. Today, my talk is the 3D large scale structures of the star forming galaxies and the projection character environment effects back to Redshift 1.5 revealed by the novel double band filter techniques. So here I'm working under the Taiki Kodama group, and here are my collaborators. Okay, so here comes introductions. So we know that galaxies are spreading in the small scale in the homogeneity in small scale, so they define a very large scale structures, and it's very important to understand how the galaxies properties are distributed along the structures. And thanks to the Matt Hours, he explained about this environment dependence. So we know that at the local universe, galaxies properties are strongly dependent on the environment, but for the high redshift, still debate is going on about this. So we want to understand how the environment dependence is happening, and at high redshift, and the time scans of the dependence is effective started. So yeah, in order to study the environmental dependence, we need to determine the precise environment of the galaxies. In order to do that, we need the accurate redshift, but the difficulty is the need of the accurate determination of the redshift. For that, we have photometric redshift. But the problem with the photometric redshift is the uncertainty becomes large at the high redshifts, and we have this spectroscopic redshifts. The sample will be too numerous to be observed. And one of the effective ways using the narrowband filters, we target the nebular emission from the H2 results of star forming galaxies, limiting to the like SFR and star formation rate with an accuracy of redshift range 0.03. But this is too uncertain to accurately determine the environment of galaxies, as this redshift range corresponds to the co-moving depth of around 56 megaparsec at redshift 1.46. So in order to circumvent this problem, we employ a very unique and a novel technique to determine the accurate redshift and the flux, and it would help us to map the 3D structure of the large scale structures. And for this, we use the Hyper Supreme Cam, so which provide us one of the widest and the deepest imaging data. And because of its large field of view, it's very useful for mapping the large scale structures. And for my current work, I'm focusing on the deep 2-3 fields, which is from SSC data with the plus NB926 from Hayashi-san. And for my work, I use as I mentioned, I use the double narrowband, which is between the J and the Y broadband. Yeah, I will explain about this short. First of all, we need to select the emission line galaxies to study this star formation activities. So for this, for this narrowband 921 and the 926, I do the same things, and we select based on the J and the Y continuum, broadband continuum, and we cut the magnitudes at 18.5 because at brighter than 18.5 they are saturated in the HSC images, and we have cut also limiting magnitudes. And we also color cuts like observe equivalent with 35 angstrom to exclude the possible contaminations. And we select the emitters from here. Similarly, going so far from the NB926. And the emitter selected, or maybe have like lots of, it may be H alpha, O2, or O3, or other emissions. So we want to separate these emitters as they are spinning at the different redshift ranges. And so for this, we use this color selections based on these conditions from the Hayashi-san's paper. And based on this, we select these emitters at different redshift. And this one for the separation between the 1.5 and 0.8. And here I cross-check to see how much contamination is there. So for the H alpha at redshift 0.4, we have some spectroscopic redshift, spectroscopic data. So I cross-check with that, and the contamination is very, very less. So this color selections effectively select these emitters. So for this, we use the redshift measurement using the two adjacent narrowband filters. So this is the main part of our project. And here we use NB921 and NB926. So the overlay with the slice difference in the response curves allow us to estimate the redshift based on the difference in the emission line flux measured in NB921 and NB926. As you can see from figure, depending on this line ratio, it will point where the emitters is located. For example, suppose the emitter is here, it is brighter in NB921, but it is dimmer in NB926. So based on this line ratio, it will point that this emitter is located around this wavelength. Similarly, if we consider these emitters at this area, this part, then it is dimmer in NB921, but it is brighter in NB926. So this line ratio would help us to give the locations of the emitters, which will give us a redshift. So, and these narrowband filters profiles are not flat. So thus, the NB excess of the flux depends on the location of the filter. And so we know the location, so we can accurately correct for the fluxes also using this method. And we want to believe that the methods, whether this redshift determined from this method is accurate or not. So for this, we cross-check with the IS-alpha emitters, spectroscopic IS-alpha emitters, and you can see from this figure, they are this is the properly like the accuracy level is really high here, and the standard deviations of the spectroscopic and the this redshift determined from these methods, we have high accuracy. And I compare with the photometrics redshift, like which is from the Cosmos ILBARTS. As we can see here, there is 0.007, and for us is 0.0017. So our redshift determination is highly accurate. Next, we comes the redshift distributions. So this is the for redshift distributions at redshift 1.5 from the O2 emitters, and we can see here double peak. This is really interesting, and this is the structure for the whole redshift range. We want to see is there any structure at different redshift in these two peaks. So I slice this redshift into two parts, slice 1 and the 2. So as we can see here, this is for the slice 1 and the slice 2. They have different structure. So that, as we can see, we have two structures, different structure. So we can separate the projection distributions at these two different sizes. So, and we can make the 3D structures. So this is one of the advantages of our novel methods, that we can separate the projected distributions. And similarly, we can do this for IS-alpha emitters at redshift 0.41 and the 0.8 for O3 emitters. And yeah, then here comes the star formation main sequence relations. So here I calculate this star formation IS-alpha O3, O2 using these equations. And we can, and I also measure the stellar mass using the SCD fittings, using the core of the Seagull. And so this is the main sequence relations. And yeah, so we have this IS-alpha, O3, and O2 at till redshift 1.5. And this is for fast focus at redshift 0.4, and this is IS-alpha distribution. So, and these are the IS-alpha emitters, and this is the dense over dense region selected by the IS-alpha. For this, I calculate the 5 nearest Locant density based on the velocity dispersion around 1,000 kilometers per sec. And within that, I find the nearest 5 neighbors, then calculate the density, 5 nearest Locant density. So, and we can see these two stars, they are from the red sequence selected clusters using the camera from Okori. So yeah, and we try to study the star formation with the Locant density, 5 sigma Locant density. So as we can see here, the star formation rate, there is mild increase of star formation activities at high density regions. And but for the SSFR, we don't see much we don't see there's increasing independence of SSFR with the Locant density. And we also check for the Coben density. So this is for the IS-alpha selected clusters, and this one is from the red sequence selected. So we see star formation activities is higher at the isoform selected cluster compared to the red sequence. And maybe it is because same thing happened here. We see difference between the red sequence and the isoform selected. Maybe in the red sequence cluster is dominated by the red quiescent galaxies. And similarly, we also did for 1.5. This is O2 selected clusters, and I select the red sequence selected over density based on these conditions. And I also study these same things which I did for H alpha at let's say 0.4. But for this case, we don't see much independence of the star formation rate with the Locant density. Similarly, it goes to the SSFR also. And the contrast to what we saw in the 0.4, in this case, we see no strong correlation, no strong sense difference in the star formation activities in the red sequence clusters or H alpha selected clusters. So no significant environment dependence. Yeah, I think I'm going to finish. So yeah, galaxy cluster, maybe in this Redshift 1.5, galaxy clusters are not yet evolved properly, and they have similar study of star formation in environment. Yeah, and the summary, we use these novel methods to estimate accurate redshift and the emission line flux, and we can map, separate the structures and corrected the projection effect, map the 3D structures, and we can investigate the environment very accurately. And so, thank you so much.